Hi, I'm Wendy Turner, Executive Director of Michigan Public. You might have heard that public media is under threat. You're not wrong. But I come to tell you that your voice has power. Visit protectmypublicmedia.org, contact your lawmakers, and take a stand today.
From Michigan Public, this is It's Just Politics. I'm Zoe Clark.
And I'm Rick Pluta.
On today's show, lose by less.
One strategy the GOP used to beat the margins in Michigan last week.
We'll speak with the chairman of the Oakland County Republican Party on how he helped Trump win, even while losing his county.
But first, to Congresswoman-elect Kristen McDonald Rivet.
The only incoming Democratic freshman U.S. rep from Michigan. She will represent Michigan's 8th congressional district, and she joins us now from Washington, D.C. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So your race was a true bright spot for Democrats in Michigan. How'd you do it?
A lot of hard work. I have an incredible team, and we were able to spend a lot of time talking directly to voters about who I am, where I came from, and what my core values are. So I grew up in a working family. My dad was a construction worker, lived in mid-Michigan my entire life. My husband and I have raised our 6 kids here. But I really have spent my entire career working on well-being of kids and the economic security of families. And so, from the very beginning, we started saying, look, you should be able to get to the middle class in Michigan and stay there by working one job, which used to be true, right? But just is now in a world where 60% of the jobs in Michigan pay less than $50,000 a year, it's harder and harder for people. So that's what we talked about over and over and over again. And then we built a coalition around that work. We knocked on 260,000 doors. That's not lid dropping. We knocked on those doors, made 500,000 phone calls, and I think that ultimately that was the thing that really made the difference.
Former President Donald Trump won Michigan. Why do you think the Democratic progressive base was less inspired to get out and vote this year?
I think there's a lot of analysis left to come where we really start to dive into the numbers and see what happened. But I can tell you, in my district, Donald Trump won with 52% of the vote. And I was able to run 9 points ahead of Kamala Harris in my district. And I think the reason for that was because we talked in plain language about the things that really matter. Because, let me just say this. If you're making $50,000 a year and you think about what that means in terms of your take-home pay, the possibility of being able to afford housing, prescription drugs, child care, all of these necessary costs of day-to-day life, that's scary. And it's important that we not only address that and talk directly to people about that, but that we also have a solution set. And, that is the thing I think that made the big difference in my district and in my race, was being able to directly relate to people and some of the real concerns they have.
Did the Harris-Walz campaign not do that?
I think that was, I don't really want to be the pundit on the national election just because I was entirely focused on my own district this entire campaign. I think there were a lot of things that were happening there, but very clearly people responded to concrete proposals that they felt were going to make the most difference for them and wanted to be able to connect and feel like they were a part of something that was going to make their life a little bit easier.
Congresswoman-elect, the message of sort of the working class about working hard and getting ahead. Yeah. There's been, I don't know how many 15,000 word articles at this point about, what the Democrats need to do differently and better or this or that. But I am curious. I hear so much of you talking about your story, talking about being a part of the middle class and what that means to you. Do Democrats have an elitism problem?
I don't believe I wouldn't go that far. What I would say is that as a party and as elected leaders, we need to do more sitting on people's front porches and really listening. We need to focus on practical solutions for things that are immediate in people's lives. When you go to the grocery store and you're paying $3.50 for a carton of eggs, when you are worrying about it costing $75 to fill up your gas tank or more, that's a problem for today. That's a problem for tomorrow. And it is a very big worry for the people in our state. And that's what we have to talk about, and we have to be able to talk about it in a way that people can relate to. And then here's the most important part. We actually have to get things done that are helping with that. So when you look at things that have made big differences, whether it is the economic development money that came from the state that have helped build out the Hemlock Semiconductor, the Corning Project, the Buick City, or the dollars that are coming from the federal government in the form of the CHIPS Act or the Infrastructure Act. These are things that are moving the needle right in mid-Michigan. And we have to talk about that, and we have to talk about it in a way that people can see a brighter future and can see the vision of that. We talk about Democrats sometimes like to bring data to a nice site. This is not the time to bring out the scatter chart. This is the time to talk in real dollars and cents what it means for families, and it might not be helping a specific family right now, but we can see down the road where these are the things that are really going to matter, and that's where we have to focus.
You are a member still of the state Senate. And when you consider that caucus just being so much smaller than the U.S. House caucus, so many more folks in D.C. now with whom to work, with whom to disagree, how do you think about that difference going from Lansing to D.C. and how you may operate?
It is, this is just obvious, a much, much larger landscape. But there are lessons that I've learned in the state Senate that are very transferable. And the first is that, the work that we do, whether we're in the state legislature or in Congress, is complex. It has a lot of different viewpoints. But for the most part, what I've learned is whether you're a Democrat or Republican, the outcome that you're looking for, whether we're talking about strong and stable families or thriving seniors or strong schools, all of these pieces, Democrats and Republicans agree on the outcome. It's the map to get there that is where we have the disagreement. But I've been able to develop relationships with very conservative Republicans in the Senate, as well as progressives in my own party that may be farther to the left than I am. But when you have a relationship that's built on respect and trust, and you're willing to listen, not just lecture and wait to talk, you actually can come up with some pretty good policy. And so that's, I think, the difference maker and something that I really hope to be able to replicate here in Washington. There are a lot more people, for sure. But here's something that people don't know. We do our orientation together. Republicans and Democrats are doing that alongside each other. And I'm really looking forward to getting to know both the members of my own caucus and the new Republicans that are coming in.
Well, on that point of working together, your predecessor from your district, the soon-to-be retired Democratic Congressman Dan Kildee, is part of the U.S. House Problem Solvers Caucus. Is this something you're thinking about joining?
Yes. It remains to be seen what shape it's taking in this new congressional session, but it's based on its history. If it's still doing that same kind of work, I'm very interested.
Congresswoman-elect, you are in Washington, D.C. I'm so curious about what the mood is like there right now after such a sort of seismic shift in American politics.
Well, I've been here, I think, all of 18 hours.
I was going to say, with your 18 hours under your belt, fill us in on everything.
Maybe not speak for all of Washington, D.C., but I can tell you that, there is a lot of shifting happening right now. They're shifting in members that are coming in, members that are leaving, which causes shifts on committee and leadership positions, and all of those things are happening. And so you feel a certain level of energy from those shifts. I think that there are more questions right now than there are answers about how things are going to shape up as we move through the next 6 to 8 weeks. And frankly, the entire time I'm served, what I'm focused most on is making sure that I'm in the best possible place to be able to serve my district. And my life's work has been around economic stability for Michiganders, but especially families. So that's what I'm going to work on when I'm here. And I am trying to meet as many people and form as many relationships as I can to make that happen.
State Senator Kristen McDonald Rivet is Congresswoman-elect Kristen McDonald Rivet. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
this is it's just politics?
You know, the issues that have been plaguing the country right now has just resonated finally with the people that had the ability to pull the lever and vote last week.
That is Vance Patrick.
The southern border has really hit hard in Oakland County.
He is the chairman of the Oakland County Republican Party.
I think it's just the fact that they are tired of the prices of groceries and the price of gas. And so it was almost a double whammy, perfect storm.
A perfect storm. You know, we have been talking a lot since last week about how President-elect Donald Trump didn't just win more votes in red-leaning counties in Michigan, but that he increased his margins in counties that he lost. And one person who helped make that happen was Chairman Patrick. So we turned to him to better understand the GOP strategy that helped Trump turn Michigan red again.
We should point out that Kamala Harris did win the county, but not by as much as Joe Biden.
Correct.
But was this an example of the Republican strategy of lose by less in areas that you're not going to win a majority?
Hey, that's my line, and you better give me credit for that. I have said that to a lot of people. And a lot of people were saying up until the election, are you going to flip Oakland County? I said, well, I wouldn't put my money on myself, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to lose by less. And what we started when my administration started a little less than 2 years ago, we started going out there and looking for those low propensity voters. And we started our field program right away. And so I think it's the fact that we've been working on Oakland County for the last 2 years, getting ready for this race. The lose by less is exactly what we were looking to do, and it obviously worked. It obviously turned out.
It did, and there were a lot of folks questioning the idea of going after low propensity voters, not just in the state, but in the country. The GOP really sort of made hay over easier access and options and ways to vote. It appears it actually helped among low propensity voters. What do you make of that?
Zoe, you're absolutely right. 4 years ago, the GOP wasn't sure how to address it. And for the last 4 years, we've been talking about early voting, get the vote out. And then when people were still a little wishy-washy about it, the fact that we look at the vote turnout from the standpoint that we go to the clerk's office and our candidates can see who's asked for a ballot, and then we know who asked for an absentee ballot. And then we also know when they turn that absentee ballot back in. So what that does is it saves the political party money from the standpoint that they can check the box and they don't have to send a mailer to that house. They don't have to send a text to that house. They don't need to send a door knocker to that house. So once you explain why early voting is good for the Republican Party, I think people just jumped all over it.
So do you see the Republican Party in Michigan now becoming the party of making it easier for more folks to have access to voting?
Well, I tell you, I think a lot of people liked it because of the fact that so many people, you know, they've missed it because their kid had a Cub Scout meeting, or they missed it because they had to work an extra shift that night. There's a lot of reasons why you can miss that one day of voting. So I think that the Republican Party is going to be embracing this as long as we continue to have the signature verification, the fair voting, that everybody can feel that their vote counts, but their vote is also a secure vote.
It wasn't all sunshine for statewide Republicans on Election Day. So, yes, Republicans took control of the state house. Trump won at the top of the ticket. But then Democrat Alyssa Slotkin won the open U.S. Senate seat. What do you think happened there?
That would have been obviously the icing on our cake, but Mike Rogers was working hard. I think that even though he was working the state, maybe there were some people that just could not resonate with him, where most Republicans, Donald Trump endorsed Mike Rogers, and then you get in step. He might have lost it from the independents, and that's the only thing I can say for right now, but a lot of people are still doing the deep dive to see where these votes came from. And I think there's a lot of data that still needs to be broken down to find out where exactly did Mike Rogers lose this race.
Vance, Who's the leader of Republicans in Michigan right now?
Wow. I tell you, well, Matt Hall just winning over the speaker, he bubbles up to the top. But, I think a lot of the people that we've got in office right now are, our state reps are strong community leaders. I think they're looked at in their districts as being leaders. Is there anybody that I can say is over the top? I think that nobody's looking to be the top of the ticket or top of the food chain. I think everybody just understands that each one of our districts, like as in counties too, each of our county parties know that what they've got to do to get the winning message out. And I think that everybody is just recognizing the fact that we all need to work together. But again, is there a specific state rep or senator that is bubbling up to the top? I'm just proud to be on the team with everybody.
Is that problematic, though, looking ahead to 2026 when you're going to have a gubernatorial election, you're going to have attorney general, secretary of state? I mean, do you worry that Donald Trump won because he is Donald Trump? But in terms of the Republican bench in Michigan, is it lacking?
Well, the candidates that are looking to bubble up to the top, I know Kevin Rinke is still out there, and he's at events. I don't know if he's one of the ones that are going to be throwing their hat into the ring. A lot of our candidates from the last time, Tudor Dixon, she's still out there doing events. She's on Fox all the time. She was campaigning with some of our candidates this time. She did some events with Kristen Noem. She was in town. So I think that a lot of people, even for the chair race for Oakland County and the congressional races, nobody was really talking about whether they were going to rerun for these positions until after last Tuesday. Now, for the next couple of weeks, I think is when we are all, congressional chairs or the county chairs, are all going to say, okay, where's my team? Are we doing this for another 2 years? And then get behind all those people. So governor race, it's 2 years away, but 2 years away is really only 2 weeks away.
Especially
in other words, we're going to be getting
politics.
ready for it.
Yeah.
I know, right? You think about it. This race is over with, and let's start on the next race.
I know. Okay, that is Vance Patrick, chairman of the Oakland County Republican Party here in Michigan. Thanks so much for the time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And finally, before we end today, because we did bring up 2026, some big political news coming out of Detroit today. Not shockwaves, because folks were assuming this was going to be the announcement. But Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan announced today that he is not going to be running for another term for mayor. Now, the speculation among many that Duggan is interested in running for governor. I asked the mayor about this the last time we spoke. He said it was much too early to talk about the gubernatorial race. Well, maybe it was too early for him, but certainly not for those keeping an eye on 2026, including his possible Democratic primary challengers. And that is It's Just Politics for today. I am Zoe Clark.
And I'm Rick Pluta.
Let's talk again next week.